I do want to get to. We do have a couple more things to get to. One of which is one of the big stories, Cole, from Phoenix was Katherine Legge. She joined us in the Freak Nation from Phoenix Raceway prior to the Cup Series race last Sunday. And that interview is blowing off the charts. So thank you to everybody who's checking that video out. I think Katherine is, what she's doing is pretty dang cool. And in the interview, she talks about, wanting to branch out and do all these different things. She ran the Chili Bowl this year, right? She's run the Indy 500 multiple times. Her first Cup Series start. And she's a racer, man. You go through the comments on that YouTube video, for goodness sake, and it's just a bunch of people whiny because they can't jump into a Cup car like Katherine Legge can, right? They can't jump in. They don't have the balls to jump into a Cup car, to jump into a sprint car like Katherine Legge did. The guts to do so, running the Chili Bowl. Anyway, so one of the things that come from that is, look, she did not have a good race, okay, unfortunately. She went to the garage after a spin and ended up wrecking Daniel Suarez in the process. But she did finish ahead of multiple other guys on the track. She did not finish last, Katherine Legge. So shout out to her. Anyway, so one of the things that come from this, Cole, was this idea about how NASCAR should go about licensing people to drive in the NASCAR Cup Series. Because Katherine Legge came in and didn't test in a NASCAR Cup Series car. She never, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe she had run any Xfinity Series races either. The only experience she really had in NASCAR was she ran in the ARCA race at Daytona. And I believe that's about it. So, Cole, what do you make of the conversation this week before we get to these bites from Kurt Busch and from Joey Logano talking about this? What do you make of this conversation about how NASCAR should go about doing this? Casey Mears, I believe, is coming back into the car as well. So what do you make of this conversation this week? And should NASCAR make a change in its policy to really honestly set these drivers up to succeed better? Because what they did to Katherine was kind of screwed up, really, to just throw her out there to the wolves.
Exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing right there. She did have 5 prior Xfinity starts under her belt, so that there's that to fall back on. But the level of competition in the Cup Series and just the way these cars handle with the current Gen 7 next-gen car, it is wildly different compared to the Xfinity Series. And I think for a track like Phoenix, where things are so technical, it's a very difficult track to make your Cup debut, especially with this current car. But I really, really do believe there should be something done for the approval process. Like you said, she had no prior testing. But back in like the COT days, even I think the Gen 5 days, like they had a lot of testing where these drivers would come in, they'd make starts, and they'd have an ample amount of time under their belt on the track. So for someone like Katherine, who was extremely accomplished in her own right, 4-time sports car winner, multiple attempts in the Indy 500, all these different forms of motorsport. She's wildly talented, but you hear it from tons of different racers in NASCAR, out of NASCAR. It's just very difficult to kind of navigate this series and these stock cars specifically. So I think if NASCAR made an exception to allow testing for drivers looking to make one-off starts, that would definitely be something that I think I would welcome, and I think a lot of the competitors would welcome, because the bottom line is, you look at how that race at Phoenix went. Daniel Suarez was running 6th when Katherine Legge ran into him, and he is in a deep points hole right now. He finished, obviously, runner-up today in Las Vegas. So it could be a potential season changer for him and a career changer for him if you're buying into the rumors and whatnot about him at Trackhouse. But the bottom line for me is that there should be a different process for getting approval for drivers. And again, that's not a knock on whoever is looking to make a start in the Cup Series. It's just the fact that these cars are so difficult to drive that you got to have more track time under your belt, have a better understanding for how they drive and how they operate before going out there and potentially rooting one of these guys' days that's running for points and for a championship potentially.
Greg again chiming in. It's a private club. They will let whomever they want in or not. And that is a perfect transition because that's exactly what Kyle Busch was trying to get at when he was asked the question about how this process for getting drivers approved should change. He essentially says, You guys upstairs in the suits, you don't know what you're doing. Let us drivers figure that out. Here's Kyle Busch talking about how NASCAR goes about approving drivers to run in the NASCAR Cup Series.
I think it's broken. I think there's a lot of work that could be done to make it better. I also do feel as though it shouldn't be suit and ties making the decisions always. Certainly there can be some that need to be involved, but I do feel like there needs to be fire suits involved in some of those decision-making processes on those that need to be approved or not approved for various activities. And I'll even go so far to say, too, that I feel the same way on driver penalties, the Austin Cindric deal. I don't think suit and ties should be making that. I think you should get penalized by your peers.
That's Kyle Busch at his best, isn't it, man? Not mincing any words, going right after NASCAR and saying, you suits do not know what in the hell you're talking about. And I 100% agree with them. Because I think it was last week we were talking about, I don't remember the exact topic, but we were talking about something similar, which is, or maybe it was Denny Hamlin or somebody else. It's all a blur at this point where we were talking about something similar where it's like, it shouldn't be the kind of non-drivers making the decisions. It should be a lot of the drivers should be having more say in what goes on with the rules, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was after the Cindric penalty, actually. So do you agree with Kyle Busch, Cole? Do you agree?
1,000%. Yeah. That when he said that in the media center, it really like just struck a chord with me because this should be an instance where I feel like the sport is kind of self-policed by the competition because ultimately they're the ones that are bringing dollars into the sport, bringing eyes into the sport and making this thing go. And in a similar sense to what we were just talking about with Katherine Legge, like it's potentially championship altering implications if you have people that are a liability on track, whether that be in a one-off situation or a situation like Cindric where you're taking somebody out intentionally. So I think being judged by your peers and by those competing in the sport is the way to go. I didn't want to get to that when doing the Katherine Legge analysis and the waiver approval process because that was a really good comment from Kyle Busch. But that's the way to do it, in my opinion. I know there's a playoff committee now that Christopher Bell's a part of and a few other drivers. So maybe that is the model they should be taking here for potential penalties and these different scenarios like one-off starts for drivers and coming into the series. Because there was another thing that Kyle mentioned about like how Casey Mears is making a start here in the Cup Series once again. And they felt that there was, I guess, more of a widespread, I guess, acceptance to that because he has run a Cup Series car before, albeit not in the next gen. But I'm curious to see how that plays out because if that backfires on them saying, oh, we're cool with Casey Mears running a one-off race in the Cup Series, and he goes out and just completely like bombs it and takes a bunch of guys out of contention, that's going to spark some discussion, obviously. But I think forming some sort of committee where maybe not every single driver in the field it has a say, but select one.
Make it a democracy. Make it a damn democracy.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if they did that? Like, all right, picture this. Picture this, Freak Nation. Here we go. Picture this. This is going to be a little thought experiment. Okay, Cole, are you a fan of the show Survivor?
I have seen Survivor. I enjoy it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just kind of come inside my mind for just a second with this thought experiment, Freak Nation, and bear with me as I try and walk myself.
I think I know where you're going here.
Walk myself through this. Okay. So they have the drivers meeting every week. I actually when we were in Phoenix last week, I hung out in the drivers meeting. It was kind of cooler. I had never really been in attendance for one of those, so it was kind of cool. All the drivers, dignitaries show up, and it really is just for no reason. They legit put on like a PowerPoint presentation to the drivers and be like, hey, don't do this, you idiots. You're professional race car drivers. You already know this, but we're going to make you sit here for 15 minutes and do nothing anyway. So my proposal is in situations like Katherine Legge, like Casey Mears, Mike Wallace, who got denied earlier this year, Helio Castroneves. Here's what you do. You invite them into the drivers meeting, and then what happens is you also invite Jeff Probst.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yes, Jeff Probst shows up at the drivers meeting, okay? And he conducts a tribal council for said driver. So he's the one that goes around and he's like, okay, everybody gets to weigh in here. What did Katherine Legge do wrong that wronged you? And you get to go around and you get to argue. It would make for great television. And then like they all go to their little confessionals, right? Because you had those confessionals in Survivor, and they go and they tell the truth, and they're like, I'm voting for this person off the island because he's a dickhead, right? Well, the driver should be able to do that too. So that's what happens. Everybody goes in their little booth. Now this is going to take a while. This is going to take, because there's 40 drivers a week. But they all go to the little confessional, they say their piece, and they vote on whether or not that driver gets to start the race. And then it's like a whole spectacle. And Jeff Probst sits there and he reads the names out, yes or no, for the entire thing. And that's how NASCAR decides. Because I tell you what, Cole, that is better. My idea is better than whatever they're doing now. Because they clearly have no idea what they're doing, right? Because Helio Castroneves won ARCA race. And he got to run the Daytona 500 and failed miserably, unfortunately, right?
Yep.
Whereas Mike Wallace, who's been in the sport for 2+ decades, right? Ran the Cup Series before. It's like, no, you can't show up.
Yep.
It's again, it goes through like our whole point this year, Cole, about like the people running this sport are like up their own ass or something because they have no idea what they're doing. They just throw stuff at a wall and seem to make it up as they go along. It's frustrating.
Right. And it goes back to there being no consistency, but that is an incredible concept right there.
Thank you.
NASCAR Cup Series Tribal Council featuring Jeff Probst on a weekly basis. You heard it here first. Bring it up. Implement this now, NASCAR. This would be a hit all around. I see no flaws with this scenario whatsoever. So good on you, Richie. Give you a round of applause here.
Thank you. Warphammer says, you just figured out the Frances don't really know what they're doing. For the most part, yeah. Well, they don't. But I think we talked about this too. Like it's like the Steves that run the sport now. The Frances are just hanging back, counting their money and counting their checks, and suing NASCAR and suing their own teams for no reason. You know, like that's what they're busy doing. We
didn't just figure this out though. This has been a theme this year alone, but just the last feels like a decade plus now. This has been going on, but especially like the last couple seasons at least. Mm-hmm. No, we had not just figured that out.
Big Glenn saying who's getting voted off this week. See, it's so much drama. That's what NASCAR needs, right? That's how Formula One survives. We'll get to Formula One in a hot minute here, but that's how F1 survives. They survive completely on drama and who's getting voted off the island every week. So.
Yeah, exactly. Be like Big Brother style too. If you watch Big Brother, put somebody on the chopping block and vote them out.
Exactly.
Eviction.
NASCAR, we're trying to help you, man. That's why you listen to Speed Freaks every Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Freaks Radio Network every Monday, noon Eastern Pacific on MAV TV. You can check us out. Thank you for watching us live, everybody, by the way. We appreciate you. All right, let's get back on track here. I know we joke and we kid.
That's the Speed Freaks way. Come on.
It is the Speed Freaks way. Joey Logano was also asked about this idea about, Katherine Legge, Casey Mears, et cetera, and how to fix this approval process. Here is Joey Logano from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Media Center earlier this week.
I think there's got to be more structure around it. I think we're pretty just willy-nilly with it on, whether you've raced in the last 10 years or not, or what did you race? It might be a better question. Right? I mean, you look at, there's a balance in here somewhere of what makes sense, but when you look at F1, it's really like for anyone to get a license to race there, I don't know if any of us are qualified, nor should we be, because we've never driven anything like that, right? Like I don't think it'd be right to throw me in an F1 race and without racing one before and giving me 20 minutes of practice. Yeah, I'm going to be in the way, right? Because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. The same thing for them, though, right? If you've never driven a stock car, should you just jump in a cup car with 20 minutes of practice and line up and race? That's it's this one. There's a line between entertainment and safety, not only for that particular driver, but us that race here every week.
Yeah. So you heard from Kyle Busch and Joey Logano there, and they're both on the same page. It was like, this is silly. This is completely silly. So I have to imagine, Cole, at some point this season, they got to figure this out and make some changes to whatever they're doing, because it's not working and it is fairly dangerous, especially if you get somebody on a bigger track like a Daytona or Talladega. And someone, thankfully, these cars are really, really safe now. And you know, and somebody gets hurt because you have an idiot out there that doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so this has to change.
I think it will change too, if enough drivers keep talking about it and voicing their concerns, which they are legitimate concerns. You mentioned it right there. The safety aspect is the most paramount thing in this scenario and in just the sport in general. So I think something will get done. I hope it's not at the expense of like a really like catastrophic wreck or like some playoff altering scenario. But like I do think that something will get done. If not this season, this off season. But hopefully nothing like egregious happens to where something has to get done like immediately, you know?
Yep, I 100% agree. Got a couple more things to get to before we get out of here. Thanks for watching us live on YouTube only tonight. We are not on the Freak Radio Network live tonight. We are not airing live on MAV TV. So Cole and I can cuss up a storm if we wanted to.
I didn't know that. You're just telling me this right now? Come on.
And get away with it. Did you not know? Did I not tell you that?
No, I didn't know that. Damn.
Well, here's the thing. We have sponsors that we need to make happy, and I'm sure the sponsors wouldn't be too happy if we were dropping F-bombs and S-bombs, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to try and avoid that. Plus, we would get demonetized on YouTube if we did that, so that wouldn't be good either. Yeah. Speaking of our fine sponsors, make sure you check out GeneralTire.com. They got an exclusive special going on. GeneralTire.com. Check it out. And you can get a Visa gift card, prepaid Visa gift card, if you meet some certain regulations. GeneralTire.com for more information.
Freak Nation, head to your local General Tire dealership now to check out the latest additions to their product lineup. The Grabber family of tires are engineered for durability and feature innovative performance features that offer all-terrain capability, blending exceptional off-road durability and impressive on-road performance, all while sporting aggressive style. For outstanding off-road performance coupled with strong street manners, look no further than General Tire. General Tire delivers for whatever you do, and the official tire of SpeedFreaks since 2001.